There comes a time when the pain becomes so great that you feel like you can't take another day. And it is exactly at that moment that everything can change. Have you ever felt like giving up? The urge to truly give up. Waking up in the morning and thinking, I can't do this anymore. It's not possible. It's over. Maybe you're struggling to support your family. Maybe you're trying to build a business from scratch. Maybe you're tired of trying and seeing no results. And then that voice in your head says, let go of this. It's not worth it. You weren't born for this. But I'm going to tell you something that could change everything for you today. There's a word in Japan, a word that saved many people from total collapse, an expression that gave people the strength to rebuild an entire country from the ashes, a word that helps transform pain into purpose. This word is Ganbaru. And before you think this is just another Japanese philosophy, wait just a second. I'm going to tell you the story of a young man, a simple guy who lived in rural Japan. Just after World War II, he had no money. He didn't have much food. He had no hope, but he had something that most people throw away at the first sign of trouble, and that something changed everything. Before I tell you this story, I invite you to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and comment below. What's your biggest struggle right now? What's making you think about giving up? I try to read and respond to as many comments as possible, and rest assured you're not alone. Thank you very much for your attention. Now let's get back to the video. Chapter 1. Kenji's Story, Japan, 1947. 2 years after the end of World War II. The country was destroyed, literally destroyed. Entire cities turned to rubble. The economy collapsed. Millions of people died, and those who survived were starving. Many families struggled just to survive. In the midst of all this, there was a 19-year-old boy named Kenji. Kenji lived in a small village in the countryside, far from the big cities, far from any help. He lived with his mother, 2 younger brothers, and his grandmother. His father had died in the war. What now? Kenji was the man of the house, but how can you be the man of the house when you have nothing? No food, no money, no contacts. Every morning, Kenji woke up with an empty stomach and the weight of the world on his shoulders. He saw his mother trying to hide her tears. He saw his little brothers asking for food that he didn't have. And the worst part, he felt like a failure. I should be able to take care of them, he thought, but I can't. I'm weak. Kenji was disciplined. He woke up early. He worked hard in the fields. He took on extra work when the opportunity arose. But no matter how hard he tried, it wasn't enough. Reality was brutal, and hope, it was dying. There was a day when Kenji couldn't take it anymore. It was early morning, biting cold. He had left to look for work on a nearby farm, but when he got there, the farm owner looked at him and said, I have nothing for you, boy. I can barely pay the people who already work here. Kenji returned home, empty-handed, empty-hearted. He sat on the dirt floor at the entrance to the house. He looked up at the grey sky, and he cried, not the usual cry of sadness. It was a cry of defeat, of surrender. I can't take it anymore, he whispered. I tried, I swear I tried, but I can't, there's no way. He sat there, lost. And then, someone appeared. He was an older man, simple clothes, calloused hands. He stopped in front of Kenji and asked, Is everything okay, young man? Kenji wiped his face quickly. Yes, sir. I'm just tired. The old man smiled. A small smile, the kind that carries a lot of history. Tired or defeated? Kenji was silent. Are you looking for work? The man asked. I am, but no one is hiring. I am. Kenji lifted his head. He looked at the man with a mixture of hope and distrust. Are you hiring? To do what? I have a small carpentry shop in the next town over. I need someone to help. I can't pay much, but it's honest work and there's food. Kenji felt something ignite inside him. A spark, small, but it was there. I accept, sir. I accept anything. The old man held out his hand. My name is Takeda. You start tomorrow. The next day, Kenji arrived early at Takeda's workshop. It was a small place, simple, old tools, the smell of wood. Takeda was there, working in silence. Good morning, Mr. Takeda. Good morning, Kenji. Ready to work? "Yes, sir?" And so it began. The first few days were difficult. Kenji knew nothing about carpentry. His hands bled, his muscles ached, but he didn't complain. He needed that job. Takeda observed everything, in silence, with attention. And after a week, while they were having simple tea at the end of the day, Takeda said something that Kenji would never forget. "Kenji, do you know what Ganbaru is?" Kenji shook his head. "No, sir. Ganbaru is a very old word. It means to persist, to do your best, to not give up even when everything seems impossible." Kenji listened, but he still didn't fully understand. Takeda continued, "You know, Kenji, after the war, many people lost everything. I lost it too. My home, my family, my job. I was left with nothing." Kenji looked at him, surprised. "But I chose Ganbaru. I chose to persist, one day at a time, one plank at a time, one tool at a time. And look where I am now. It's not much, but it's mine, and I built it with my own hands." "But sir, what about when you feel like you can't take it anymore?" Takeda smiled. "That's exactly when you need Ganbaru most, because it's in pain, Kenji, that we grow. It's not in ease, it's in struggle." Chapter 2. The transformation Kenji began to understand. It didn't happen overnight. It happened little by little. There were days when he woke up exhausted, his hands were sore, his body was aching. But he remembered Ganbaru. There were days when the work was repetitive, boring, no fun, but he remembered Ganbaru. There were days when he wanted to drop everything and go home, but he remembered Ganbaru. And do you know what happened? He started to get better. His hands stopped bleeding and began to grow calloused. His movements became more precise. He began to understand wood, to respect the material, to create something with purpose. And most importantly, he started to believe again. It wasn't a blind belief, it was a belief built, brick by brick, day by day. Takeda saw all this and smiled. "You're learning, Kenji. It's not just carpentry, you're learning about yourself." But then came the real test. 6 months later, Takeda fell ill. It wasn't anything serious, but he had to rest for a few weeks. And he said to Kenji, "The shop is yours now, can you handle it?" Kenji felt the fear return. "Mr. Takeda, I don't know if I can." "You can do it. I wouldn't have given you this responsibility if I didn't believe in you." And so, Kenji was left alone. Suddenly, he was responsible for orders, for customers, for quality, for everything. And the pressure was enormous. He had a difficult request, an important client, a large, complex table. Kenji worked days and nights. He sweated. He made mistakes. He redid them. He made mistakes again. And one morning, he looked at the half-empty table and thought, "I'm not going to make it. I'm going to disappoint Mr. Takeda. I'm going to lose this client. I'm going to lose everything." He sat on the floor, head down. And then he remembered. He remembered Takeda's words. "It's in pain, Kenji, that we grow." He took a deep breath. He got up, and it continued. Kenji finished the table. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. It was made with care, with dedication, with Ganbaru. The customer came to pick it up. He looked at the table. He ran his hand over the wood. He tested the structure, and he smiled. "This is a masterwork. Who did this?" Kenji shyly said, "Me, sir." "You, but you're so young. Congratulations. I'll recommend your work to everyone I know." When the customer left, Kenji was left there, alone in the workshop, and for the second time in his life, he cried. But this time it wasn't tears of defeat. It was a cry of victory. Takeda returned, recovered, and saw what Kenji had done. "You did it, kid." "I did it, sir. Because of you. Because of Ganbaru." Takeda placed his hand on Kenji's shoulder. "It wasn't because of me. It was because of you. I just showed you the way. But you were the one who walked it." Over time, Kenji began to earn more. The workshop grew. He was able to bring home more food. He was able to provide a better life for his mother, his siblings, and his grandmother. He didn't get rich, but he didn't need to. because he had achieved something much greater than money. He had gained dignity, purpose, and the certainty that no matter what came, he could face it, because he had Ganba. Chapter 3. The Science Behind Ganba. Now you might be thinking, nice story, but does this work in real life? It works, and science proves it. According to some researchers, the ability to persist in the face of adversity is directly linked to what we call a growth mindset. People with this mindset believe that their skills can be developed through effort and practice. And do you know what the result of this is? They overcome challenges that other people consider impossible. A neuroscientist with years of experience explained in a recent study, when we face difficulties and choose to persist, our brains create new neural connections. We literally become mentally stronger. In other words, pain is not the end. Pain is the beginning of transformation. But there is one detail. Not just any kind of persistence works. Some people persist in the wrong way. They bang their heads against the wall without changing their strategy. And then they get frustrated. Ganba isn't about being stubborn. It's about being resilient. It's about adapting. It's about moving forward, yes, but with intelligence. And it's about always remembering your why. Chapter 4. Your Ganba moment. Now I want you to think about your life. What is your struggle now? Maybe you're trying to support your family. Maybe you're building a business. Maybe you're studying for a career change. Maybe you're just trying to survive. And it's hard, I know. There are days when you wake up and think, I can't take it anymore. There are days when the math just doesn't add up, when the results don't come, when no one believes in you, and you feel like giving up. But I want you to remember Kenji, a 19-year-old boy, post-war, with nothing, absolutely nothing. But he didn't give up. Because he understood something profound. Pain is part of the process. There is no growth without pain. There is no transformation without struggle. And when you embrace that, when you stop running from the pain and start using it as fuel, everything changes. You stop being a victim and become a protagonist. Ganba is not about being a superhero. It's not about never feeling afraid, never feeling tired, never feeling like giving up. It's about feeling all of this and carrying on anyway. It's about waking up the next day, even when the day before was horrible. It's about taking one more step, even when your legs are shaking. It's about believing that in the end, it will be worth it. And you know what? It always applies. Not in the way you imagine, not in the time you want, but it's worth it. Because the person you become in the process is far more important than the end result. Kenji didn't become a millionaire. He didn't become famous. But he saved his family. He became a man of character. He left a legacy. And you? What legacy do you want to leave? Do you want to be remembered as someone who gave up at the first hurdle, or as someone who, despite everything, kept fighting? And let me tell you one last thing that will make you rethink everything. Do you know how many times Kenji thought about giving up before he met Takeda? Every day. Do you know how many times he thought about giving up afterward? Also, every day. The difference wasn't that the desire to give up disappeared. The difference was that he learned to carry on despite her. And that's the truth that no one tells you about success, about fulfillment, about purpose. It's not about not being afraid. It's about being afraid and acting anyway. It's not about not feeling pain. It's about feeling pain and transforming it into strength. It's not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about making the best of the moment you have. So when you're at your limit, when everything seems impossible, when you feel like you can't take another day, remember Ganba. Remember Kenji, a simple boy who had nothing, but who had something that no one could take away from him. The choice not to give up. And that choice changed everything. Your life can change too. Not tomorrow, not next week, but it will change. If you choose Ganba, if you choose to persist, if you choose to use pain to your advantage. Because in the end, it's not about how many times you fall, it's about how many times you get up. If this video touched you in any way, I invite you to subscribe to the channel again, because I will continue to strive to bring you valuable content. I also invite you to leave a like and comment below. Ganba. That's all, just that word. Because when you write it, you are making a commitment to yourself, a commitment to not give up. And I have another invitation for you. If you also enjoy content about psychology and philosophy, I invite you to check out my new channel. I'll leave the link in the video description. If you've watched this far, thank you very much for your attention. See you in the next video. And remember, your story is still being written, and it won't end with giving up.